Right now is the perfect time to purchase some of the top singles from the Crown Zenith set, and in this video I'm just going to show you why that is. So jumping straight into things, we'll have a little look at the price of the Elite Trainer Box right now. So as we can see, over the last year it's really shot up in value, especially at the end of 2024 moving into 2025 when the market really started to boom. We saw prices of the Elite Trainer Box for Crown Zenith really start to take off. Now, as you'll see, a year ago, it was only $44. $44 for any Elite Trainer Box seems quite absurd, right? Sounds like a great deal, but especially when you think about Crown Zenith and how good that set is, fantastic set, and you could have picked up an Elite Trainer Box for only $44. As I mentioned briefly just a second ago, I said that just in the turn of the new year, between December and January, prices really shot up for this Elite Trainer Box. As you'll see here, it was around $69 at the end of December, and after 2 or 3 weeks shot all the way up to over $100. So as you can see there in the chart, there's a very steep spike, which is where it really started to take off and has only gone in the same way since. And what I'd like you guys to do is focus on the prices at specific date points. Now don't worry, I'm not going to expect you to remember all of the information from the ETB we just looked at and remember it throughout the course of the video. Don't worry, we'll be looking at the ETB and flicking between the prices of the singles and the ETB throughout the video. And the reason we'll be doing this, guys, is quite important because usually with a set, when we look at the prices of the sealed product as well as the prices of the singles, usually their prices and their graphs correlate. Usually they move in the same direction. Now it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation. Which one moves first, which one carries the other? It's debatable, right? But the point being, usually the prices of the sealed product and the singles move simultaneously. Now, with that being said, we'll move on to the first single we'll look at. And of course, flavor of the month right now is the Evolutions. Now, here we have the Glaceon VSTAR. What a beautiful card this is. I've said in many videos in the past, if you've been here before, you know that I love the winter themed cards. So your sort of Snow Run, your Metagross, those illustration rare cards from the Scarlet and Violet era, and Glaceon is another card like them. Now, as we see here, currently sits at $42 US. But what I want to show is we've got the 3-month chart up here. It started around $38 at the very beginning of January, reached a peak at the very beginning of February at $48, and since then has dropped off about $10 down to about $40 and is kind of finding its feet around there. So yes, it had a little bit of a rise, but peaked very beginning of February and has fallen off a bit since and plateaued since. Now again, comparing that to the Crown Zenith ETB, when we look at the very beginning of February, it was 111, but since then it's only gone up. As you see, it's gone all the way up to 125. So it's still risen a lot more after that, whereas the single has peaked and dropped off and plateaued off. So looking at Glaceon's counterpart, the other evolution that was introduced in the same generation, of course, it's Leafeon. Now, again, a very beautiful card. I'm a big fan of these two evolution cards in the Crown Zenith set. Now, as we can see right now, price point is currently $48 US. Now, what I want to show again is look, it was rising and rising just like the ETB was here. It was on an upwards trajectory until it reached again the sort of beginning of February time, where as you can see here, reached $48, which is the price it currently sits at today. So again, peaked at the early days of February and has since not done much. Yeah, okay, it's dropped off and gone back up, but the point being it's pretty much exactly the same price that it was at the beginning of February. So remember, since the beginning of February, whilst two of the top cards from the Crown Zenith set, the Leafeon VSTAR and the Glaceon VSTAR, peaked at the beginning of February and haven't moved up since then, whereas the Crown Zenith ETB did not peak at the beginning of February and has only risen more since. So moving on to another example and another very strong and beautiful card from this set, we have the Mew from the Galarian Gallery. Fantastic piece of artwork this. Everyone's seen this card, everyone knows this card, and most people love it. Now, as we can see, currently it sits at $17.69. But again, I'm going to let you guess at what date this card peaked at. Yes, that's right, at the very beginning of February. February 2nd to February 4th here, reached $25.26, and it's only been downhill since. As you can see, it's fallen all the way down, almost $10, which in the grand scheme of things is a lot when you consider it as a percentage. When you look at it, when it was $25, to fall almost $10 down to 17 is quite a big drop. Another example and another beautiful card, surprise, we are talking about Crown Zenith here. We have the Darkrai VSTAR from Galarian Gallery. Again, a fantastic piece of artwork. And again, one that's just, what's it doing price-wise? When you look at it here, $32. When you look at the beginning of February, it was $35. So we look at the price today, $32. It's actually dropped off again, $3 from that sort of beginning of February period. Now it did rise a little bit more. It did find its way up to almost 38, but again, it's gone up and down since and has fallen off quite a bit in the last week or two. And as I said, sits now at around $32, which, as I said before, is less than that peak at the very beginning of February. Now we move on to 3 of the best cards from this set, and that's the legendary OG Dog Trio. Now that took me a few takes, by the way, guys. I got my tongue twisted quite a few times. Anyway, this is first off Suicune V. Now, Suicune V, as we can see, $33 right now. I think that's very cheap, just on kind of a separate point. I think that's very cheap for this card. I think this Suicune is a fantastic looking card. Anyway, we're here to look at the prices. As we can see, at the end of January, beginning of February, it was around its peak, which was $42. And on that specific date range of the 2nd to the 4th of February, it was just shy of $43. And that's just off its peak of $44 a few days before at the very end of January, but it's there or thereabouts. But as we can see, since that peak at the end of January or beginning of February, it's only been pretty much downhill since. It was downhill to 37. It risen back up a little bit, again to 42, but has dropped off even more since, where it currently sits at today, $33. Moving on to the second one, we have Entei here, the Entei V card. Again, a fantastic card, almost Groudon Paradox Rift-esque with the volcano in the background. Very, very cool card. And again, very similar graph to Suicune, as we can see. This one's $26. And again, on a separate point, I'll just say how cheap I think this card is for only $26. As we can see, at the very end of January is when it hit that peak of around $31, $32. And it dropped off, and it went back up, and it dropped off even more. Very, very similar to the Suicune, but point being, when it hit that peak around end of January, sort of beginning of February, it's nowhere near that price now. That price there was just shy of 32, where now it's 26. Now, not a huge drop off, but the point being, as I've said before and I've alluded to at the beginning of the video, whilst the ETB continues to go up from this date, the singles are either stagnating or going down. So moving on to the final dog of the OG trio, we have Raikou V. Again, a fantastic looking card. I love the blurry background with the colors kind of emulating just how fast Raikou is running. Really, really cool card. And it's actually the cheapest of the 3. As you can see, this one currently sits at $24. Now again, same sort of story. We have one of the peaks here, late January, early February, same old story at $31. Yes, it did reach a slightly higher peak in March at 32, but since that date range here that we always look at, it's dropped off, it's gone back up. There's not really much difference between there, 31 and 32, pretty much the same price, but since then it has dropped off massively. It's fallen all the way down to 24. So again, when we're talking about a card that's only around $20 to $30 as a percentage, to fall off from 32 down to 24 is really quite big. Now, the main point being here is that whilst that ETB continues to rise, it continues to grow and go up in value, the singles are not going to stay the same. They're not going to drop off, that's for sure, and they shouldn't stagnate either. They should also start to be lifted by the price of that ETB. Because as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, the price of a sealed product pretty much always correlates to the prices of the singles within the set. They usually travel in that same direction, right? The graphs usually correlate, and therefore, whilst that ETB continues to go north, the singles are not going to continue to go south. And I really do think that ETB will continue to grow, right? It's a phenomenal set, Crown Zenith. It really is, and it's really not likely to get reprinted. So whilst that continues to grow and fly up in value, those singles are not going to stay at the prices they're at. They're going to grow with the ETB. So there we have it, guys. The Crown Zenith singles, some of your better ones as well. We're not looking at some kind of bottom of the pile ones here. If you look at if you sort the cards in the Crown Zenith set by highest to lowest in regards to price, you'll see that we've looked at some of your top cards from the set, some of your most beautiful and desirable cards. So whilst they're so cheap, guys, before they go up with the ETB, I recommend getting your hands on them at really great prices. I don't think you can go wrong with these Crown Zenith singles. They're just fantastic additions to your collection. Anyway, guys, that will conclude things for today. So let me know down in the comments what you think of Crown Zenith as a set, what you think of the video, what you think of these prices, the way things are performing, if you also agree that these singles are a good pickup right now, and if you will be doing so. Anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed the video, please don't hesitate to leave a like, as I really do appreciate it, and it really does help the channel out. You can hit the subscribe button up there if you are new and you do enjoy this style of content, or you can watch another video of mine right here where I give some other alternatives to potentially collect right now in Japanese cards. Anyway, that'll do it, guys. My name's Will, I've been Pokecharla, and I'll catch you in the next one.